The time is 3:37 p.m. We are now calling the Joint Budget and Finance Committee meeting and Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Councilors, have you had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting? Is there? I don't think she did.
I move approval.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The minutes from the last meeting have passed. Next is consideration of the consent agenda. Councilors, do you have any items you'd like to place on consent? Councilor Abbott?
I'm sure I do.
Madam Pro Tem? Okay.
I'd like to suggest the following items for consent. Items 4 and 5 on page 1. Item 7 on page 2. Items 8 and 9 on page 3.
Okay.
And that's it.
Councilor Abbott?
I'm in agreement with that. And you added 8?
Yes.
Okay, wanted to make sure about that. Okay, I'm in agreement.
Okay, those are items 4 and 5 on page 1, item 7 on page 2, and items 8 and 9 on page 3.
Yes.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the
Second.
consent agenda.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Those items have passed, the consent agenda. If your item was placed on consent, you may enjoy the rest of this afternoon. Otherwise, the first item is item number 6. This is for the city to complete a grant with the state of Alabama, acting and through the Alabama Department of Transportation, ALDOT, for grant funding through the Federal Carbon Reduction Program to update signals on state and local roads throughout the city with the total grant award not to exceed, I think that's supposed to be 1 million, so add another 0, with 450,000 matching funds required by the city for a term of 12 months.
Second.
Chief?
Have Mr., what's your name? I'm kidding. Mr. Kevin Blair, so B-Dot, and Adrian Steele from Finance.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Blevins. I serve as the Deputy Director for the Department of Transportation. We're here to submit the carbon reduction grant with match funds of $450,000 to receive this carbon reduction grant in conjunction with ALDOT.
I move approval.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Wait, I have a question.
Wait. Oh, sorry. You can.
I mean, I was just moving it because,
Okay,
anyway.
okay.
It's
What's
been
your
that kind
question?
of day. Okay,
Were you done?
this is my
Were you
question.
done?
I'm done unless y'all have any questions.
Okay, gotcha. Councilor Abbott. It threw me off. Sorry, y'all.
He's here to answer all my questions. I have noticed that the timing of the lights in Birmingham is one of the most screwed up messes I've ever seen. You just go you stop at every single intersection because the timing, there doesn't seem to be any timing anymore. And all I want to know, is this going to fix that?
It will not fix all of them. So this one will fix 10 corridors throughout the system. Those 10 corridors are University Boulevard, 8th to 29th Street, Green Springs, Martin Luther King, on I-65 ramps, Lum Avenue in Martin Luther King from 6th Avenue Southwest, Goldwire Street to Princeton Avenue, 5th Avenue South from 14th Street to 19th Street, 6th Avenue South from 11th Street South to 18th Street, 20th Street Ensley from Pike Road to Avenue C, Richard Arrington Jr. Boulevard, 2nd Avenue South through 7th Avenue South, Richard Arrington Boulevard, 1st Avenue North to 7th Avenue North, 22nd Street South from 2nd Avenue South to 7th Avenue South. So that will get the communications back on to our traffic management system and our software system that allows us to work with that coordination throughout those 10 corridors. So not all of the city systems, but those main corridors. This grant would allow us to start the process to get the communication back operative.
That's good. So, since I know the city council pretty well, if you'd have a list of the streets for tomorrow's council meeting, and like on one piece of paper, just a list
Yeah.
for all the council members, I just know
That's fine.
that will be a question.
It's in the grant application packet, but we'll take that out so they can see it for tomorrow. That's fine.
Okay, well, I plowed through a lot of those attachments. I didn't find it, but I miss things every once in a while. So then the other question about the poor timing of all our lights in the city. Like, before we had a means of coordinating lights, so if you drove the speed limit, you might have some chance of not stopping at all of them. Before we had that system, didn't we have people who
Probably before.
tried to time the lights where they didn't stop everybody all the time? Because this is due to the carbon reduction program. So the idea is to not have the traffic all clogged up and in a snarl,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that we'll reduce carbon. So is anybody working on any of the rest of them?
Yeah, some of them we are working on, some of them are underground damage, which will take extensive amount of work. Some of it is outdated copper communication, which we want to try to advance some of that communication. Most of these on the 10 corridors that we have are fiber, which is faster, so if we decide to add additional equipment, it'll be able to handle that equipment. The older infrastructure can't handle the new technology that's out now. So
Okay.
we do have people that work on them as much as they can.
Okay, and I don't think you mentioned 10th Avenue South on your list.
No.
That's too bad. That's too bad. Because we have some lights the timing is set so that they force traffic through the residential areas instead of where they should be driving. You know, like they hang a long time, so people just see that they can just haul through the neighborhood. And it would be nice for the timing to be changed so that people were not encouraged to speed through our residential streets, that they were encouraged to, go get on the interstate or a highway or someplace that's appropriate
Right.
to drive 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, we'll look at some of that time. Some of that time is also around UAB. So
Well, I know,
pedestrians
but
do
we
pay
don't want
attention.
UAB people speeding through the
Right.
residential areas either. We don't really care where they work.
Right.
We just don't want them speeding through the residential neighborhood.
Right.
And, in our little tiny minds, we think that traffic should be encouraged to go to major arteries instead of people's residential neighborhood streets.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just a mindset that residents get.
Understand?
I'm sure that other people don't share it, but, we residents really don't like all 160,000 people that get off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at UAB to be driving through the residential areas. So I guess I'll just turn those lights in and see what happens.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely turn those in and we'll see what we can get done.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Ma'am, Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to continue with just some of the conversation and the questions that were posed by Councilor Abbott. If a resident encounters a change in the duration of a traffic light, should they report that to 311, or is it something they would do to
Yes.
VDOT? But it should
Definitely
go to.
report it to 311, that way they can follow.
Okay, because I have had some calls, there's one particular light, and I won't go into it, but people have noticed that now one side seems to hold longer than the other, and people aren't cutting through
Yeah.
neighborhoods on this one, but they're actually cutting through businesses,
Right.
making a U-turn, trying to get through the light or not have to sit for so long. So we'll go back and send that in for that.
Yeah, I definitely encourage them to put that in 311.
Okay, thank you. And then one other thing, you said this is like 10 corridors. I know this is a particular grant that's specific to this. Are there thoughts that you may have other areas or other corridors that would need something similar, or is this just your worst-case scenario, or?
This is our worst case scenario, so this kind of played a our worst-case scenario and also our existing infrastructure, so to get more bang for our buck. So that's why we came up with these 10 corridors.
Okay, I can definitely understand that. Thank you, Madam.
Okay, how many traffic lights were there, were those you were called out?
How many do we have, or how many are in these 10 corridors?
Well, that we're applying the grant for to update.
I have to count them up, but I want to
sorry.
say probably roughly over 50.
Okay, that's good. When's the deadline for the application?
Yeah, next 30
Next 30
days.
days. When will we get notice of whether we're awarded or not?
We already awarded.
Huh?
We're awarded.
Oh, you're awarded, gotcha. Okay, and then when will we implement this? Like start updating the signals?
Well, once we complete this process, we'll send it back to AlDOT. They'll sign off, and then we'll select a contractor.
Okay, how long do you think that'll take?
We would still have to go through our ordinance process also.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, maybe it'll be this year, so, okay, anybody else have any questions?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye, the aye passes. Thank you, guys. Next item,
Thank you.
skip over to page 4, that's item 10. This is for the city to complete a grant, with the accept of all grant funds appropriated by the Alabama Legislature FY 2025 in support of the BRT, Birmingham Rapid Transit System, in an amount not to exceed $200,000 with no matching funds from the city.
Second.
Chief?
Yes, Madam Chair, can you bring up 11 and 12? They're all related to the same.
Gotcha, okay, so for items 11 and 12, this is the same, grant, and this, item 11 is in support of city walk maintenance, an amount not to exceed $250,000, and item 12 is in support of the Birmingham Police Department Athletics Youth Program, and an amount not to exceed $50,000.
Ma'am,
Yes, oh,
Sure.
Jeff, yes,
on items 10 through 12, second line, there's just a Scrivener's error. Second line, complete a grant and accept all funds.
okay.
So on the
Complete a
second
grant
line,
And accept all funds.
strike with the, replace it with and.
Okay, thank
And
you,
all three of them have the same error.
yes.
The items are correct on tomorrow's agenda, but just
Okay.
for today's Budget Finance Committee, they weren't.
All right, thank you. Okay. Well, Chief?
Yes, Madam Chair and committee members, so in the 2025 appropriations granted by the governor and the Alabama legislator, they allocated $50,000 to the Birmingham, PAT, Birmingham Athletics Youth Program, $200,000 to Bus Rapid Transit, and $250,000 to City Walk Maintenance. So this is actually coming from the governor's office in conjunction with ADECA. So I can give a brief summary of each one. So the Birmingham Police Athletic Program is designed to build and foster positive relationships between law enforcement and local youth programs, mentorship, and community involvement. The program offers athletic activities, skill development, and character building workshops that fosters truth and mutual respect. Okay. The next one is the Birmingham Rapid Transit System. It aims to develop an efficient, reliable, sustainable transit network designed to alleviate traffic congestion, reduce commute times, and enhance connectivity across the city and surrounding area. We'll do that in conjunction with the BJCTA, of course.
Okay.
And then the last one is City Walk. This is the City Walk maintenance program to just do regular upkeep, repairs, and enhancements to City Walk, its pathways, and surrounding areas to ensure safety, accessibility, and aesthetically appealing to the residents and visitors of our city. So this project will address basic routine maintenance.
Okay. Okay, all right. Counselors, do you have any questions? Listen, Madam Pro Tem?
I did want to ask about the city walk, and so this is just routine maintenance. We're not improving or enhancing anything.
Just regular upkeep and maintenance.
Okay.
Of course, that is being controlled by the BJCC, so we'll do that in conjunction with them to help any needs that they need for City Walk when it comes to maintenance, yes.
And with the PAT number 12, is this going for just overall programming or any specific sport or activity?
It's for the entire program.
Okay.
So they'll provide us with a, kind of the same thing that they do for our general fund allocation, and just say, this is the scope of the service, and that's how we write the contract with this fund.
Okay, and I do know from our Safety Commission, I know there's been some studies going on right now. And so this is a program that's already current. I know we're looking and trying to see what's going on within the city.
Yes, this is already current, but this does speak to one of those factors that the Public Safety Commission talked about. So, of course, this also helps to foster that relationship with the community and the youth when it comes to doing nonviolent type of activities. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor Abbott?
Yes, I wanted to ask about item number 10, the $200,000 for bus rapid transit. Is that to do anything in particular?
So with the grant, we'll work with BJCTA, of course, because they operate the BRT system. I think it's just helping us to more make it accessible. So we'll do more upkeep around, I believe, like most of the sidewalks, make them accessible for people to get to the actual stops.
What an idea. I'm in favor of it.
Thank you.
Well, I was wondering also, I've noticed on Sixth Avenue, which I drive a lot, that cars drive in the BRT lane all the time, and there's not a policeman in sight, and not anybody else either. Is there anything we can do with our camera system and enforcement, or is that just a hopeless case?
I would say the latter.
Hopeless
Yeah,
case?
unless a police officer actually sees it, we can't do anything until we can get some legislation passed about cameras.
Yeah, which we're not asking them to do, by the way. I attended that meeting. We're not asking for anything, so I guess we won't get it. But I just wondered because I see it all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that was all.
Okay, and this is something we plan on requesting every year from the governor, since it's just 1 year.
Yes, we'll work with ADECA on the different submissions. It may not be the same ones, but it may be some kind of different things that we can kind of go out after that deals with economic development.
Okay, because I was thinking about city walk maintenance. Wasn't there like some type of
Yes, we
long-term contract that ended?
Yes, that was with ALDOT, and yes,
Yes.
we finished that one, yes.
Okay, so I guess the goal year after year is to apply for, how are we gonna fund it moving forward?
Yes, some fashion, yes. We have been in good communication with the leadership of ALDOT about City Walk. They have reached out to us to ask for some type of yearly allocation for maintenance, and
Okay.
we're looking into it. But this actually helps.
Okay, no, it looks good, so I really like it, so I just didn't know when I heard about the contract ending how that was gonna work out, so, okay. Do y'all have any additional questions? Councilor Abbott, you look like it.
The city walk. Okay, ALDOT was kind enough to build it for us. And then we had a brief agreement with BJCC to do maintenance and security.
That's the relationship between ALDOT and BJCC, not the
Okay,
city.
with ALDOT, and the city's not involved in that, and so now the city is involved, but it's ALDOT's property. So, explain to me why we would take over the maintenance of ALDOT's property. They already don't maintain, what they have very well, and we seem to be being saddled with the interchanges and now the city walk, so what are they gonna do? Fix the lights?
I mean, they handle the overall maintenance of City Walk in conjunction with the BJCC. So there are revenue enhancements that they have at City Walk. They're supposed to pay for the actual maintenance. Some of that revenue has not offset the actual maintenance that needs to happen with City Walk. So that's why we're kind of trying to step in and help with the funding gap that they need to continue to operate City Walk. So yes, it was one of those things that they built it and they kind of were hoping that we would take it on as a project, but we didn't. So that's why the BJCC got involved.
Okay, ALDOT's a whole different world, but it just strikes me that people build things in our city and then they want us to fund them and take care of them. You know, like amphitheaters and stuff, they have these great ideas and they're brilliant, and then it's like the hand goes out to be crossed with silver of the public. It just, I guess it'll never change.
We just want to remain a good partner, that's all. I get it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Yes, Madam President, do you have anything?
That's it for me, thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion on all three? I know we just had one on 10.
We did 10 and then added the other, but I'll make another motion for all
Okay.
three. Do you need a second?
Oh, and I second them.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those items have passed. Next item is item number 13, an ordinance to amend the grants fund budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 by appropriating $252,880 to IEO Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Fund per grant award received.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay, Chief?
Ms. Sarah Wilson will now come.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sarah Wilson. I serve as Deputy Director of the Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. The item before you is essentially a $250,000 planning grant that we are going to be using to build out a plan around creating a pipeline for green jobs. And so this grant, we're going to use it kind of to the two main goals. The first is to really assess the landscape of clean energy jobs and green jobs throughout the city. And then the second is to increase career-connected learning via exposure for K-12 students within the green job economy.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay. Counselor Abbott?
Yeah, can you give me some examples of the green jobs that we're planning on creating or finding?
That is exactly what we're hoping to achieve with that first goal. So we worked with the Department of Energy. We had this opportunity to apply for this small grant, and what we are really hoping to do is to assess the landscape. Initially, we started planning and thinking about how cool it would be for us to build out this program, and then we realized we really don't have an idea of what the jobs we're training for are specifically. And so, like, one example could be there's this cool, almost like add-on certificate program that one could get after going through a 4-year apprenticeship program. It's called an air quality technician. And so essentially it's people that go into buildings and they assess the air quality system and where the gaps are, and they look about like energy usage as well as making sure that the air is healthy. And so that's an example of one job, but there are many, probably dozens within our network that we don't know about. And so that's essentially what we want to do with this kind of first part, is to really understand the landscape, understand what the jobs are, and then what the credentials are needed to get those jobs.
So Counselor Abbott, think HVAC, construction jobs, energy, auditing, code compliance, roofing, lighting.
Code compliance, that means we could hire them.
Energy code compliance, yeah.
Chaz, you wrote that down, right? I knew you would. Okay. Thank you.
I only know that because I think I talked to Sarah a couple of years ago actually about this, so I'm really excited to see we're getting a grant for this.
Yeah, I
so.
think it's great, and we could have a whole corps of people out planting trees all over the city of Birmingham because they reduce pollution and cool the city and make people slow down in their speeding cars.
All of those things.
It's amazing what trees can do, so we can just teach a whole bunch of people how to plant trees.
Yep. Okay, Madam Pro Tem.
Well, I do appreciate the question about what type of jobs these entail. So giving the example of the air quality technician and then what Madam Chair read us, that gave me more insight on this. So this will just be the study part of the planning process, correct? And you said you're going to be trying to determine what these jobs are.
Yes.
And then will we necessarily use this money to go after those type of business owners who would be hiring these type of jobs, or we would be working with, maybe it's a local college or community college that would certify?
Right. I think we anticipate kind of doing a mix of all of those and really understanding like what are the jobs and then backing into that, like what are the credentials necessary? Are there people existing in the market that are already training for those credentials? And then, of course, that like very last piece is how do we make sure that young people in Birmingham have access to this pipeline, right? These are the jobs of the future. So how do we make sure that they're even aware of it? So that's that kind of like career awareness. We anticipate that there's probably some employers out there that don't necessarily say these are green jobs, but perhaps are looking at like, how do we make this yellow job a green job? So like 10, 20 years from now, what does that look like?
Thank you. That's my only question. Thank you.
Okay. Council Abbott, do you have anything else?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay. All right. Well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is item number 14. This is to amend the grants fund budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 by appropriating $14,400 to PEP and for certified local government grant per award received from Alabama Historical Commission.
Second.
Good afternoon. How are you all? My name is Hannah Garman. I serve as the Historic Preservation Manager for the city. What questions do you have?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Pro Tem?
Thank you very much. I do know, we're amending the budget. So we have the money.
Yeah, we're receiving the grant.
Okay, so we're receiving the grant. And so just tell me, you don't have to go into everything, but I'm just trying to see the utilization of this when you say,
We had previously received a grant to do a historic resource survey of the neighborhood at their request. This is the second part of that. It was determined that that area is eligible for the National Register. So this is the second portion of that. And we'll complete a National Register nomination for the Druid Hills neighborhood.
that was gonna be my question. So it is Druid Hills? All
It
right.
is.
Thank you. That's it, madam.
Okay, Council Abbott?
Okay, so the historic resource survey is completed and they're eligible for the National Register, which provides no protection whatsoever.
No, ma'am,
But
it's
it's a
strictly
nice
honoring.
honor and you can put up a big sign. So what is our intention? The next step is to actually drill down and do the background work on each structure in order to get into the national.
So the National Register nomination will take that information where we surveyed each individual building. There'll be what is called an inventory. It doesn't do an in-depth complete history, but it gives an architectural description if it's contributing or a non-contributing resource within the National Register. But it does give us an overall history of the area, which that area is lacking a lot of historic context and a lot of historic documentation. So it's really, a foundation document for additional historic resource information.
Okay, so when we are finished spending the $14,400, what will we have accomplished?
Hopefully, it will be listed in the National Register of Historic Places, which you have to be eligible or, listed in the National Register in order to receive federal tax credits. So any business in that area would be eligible then to apply for and then hopefully receive federal tax incentives as well as the state tax credit.
Okay, so in the end, they'll be on the National Register.
Yes, ma'am,
And
that's
is
the hope.
this the neighborhood that did not want to pursue local historic district?
They haven't said one way or the other. Usually a lot of times we go through this process because you have to be, have this survey and all of that. And then when they request us at the end, a lot of times we'll go and give that presentation if they want to be a local district. At this point in time, they have not requested local designation, but we always go and talk about National Register listing once it's complete, and we do give them that information.
Okay, because I remember there was one neighborhood that y'all talked to us about that did not want to
Bush
pursue.
Hills.
Bush
They were
Hills.
recently listed in the National Register. Like they went through the entire process, but then they chose they don't want to move forward with local designation.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Madam President, you good? Okay. I don't have any questions. Okay.
Thank you.
But there was a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Next item is item 15. This is to amend the general fund budget for this fiscal year, transferring $1,303,012.50 from IMS Technology Professional Fees, other professional services, transfer to Fund 102 Capital Improvement, and then amend the Capital Improvement Fund for this fiscal year by appropriating $340,110 to IMS 102 CP 003905-001, IMS Seek Solutions, $277,905.50 to IMS BPD, $85,000 to IMS PP, $60,000 to IMS Capital Projects, $40,000 to IMS Fire, and $500,000 to IMS Computer Software.
Second.
Have Ms. Annette come up and speak on it, and I'll try to help her with it too.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
before Ms. Harris speaks, line 5, I believe that amount should be $277,902.50
Okay.
to total the balance.
Gotcha. We'll make that note of that.
Good afternoon. I'm Annette Harris. I serve as the Deputy Director of Enterprise Systems for IMS. I'm here to answer questions.
Okay. Madam Pro Tem.
So we're just transferring funds to make it accurate for what the particular item
Yes, so
is?
most of these are already appropriated on purchase orders. So it's currently against the operating budget, and those projects aren't going to finish before the end of June. So I just need to move it so that the funding will still be available for the end of the projects.
So these are overlapping projects that'll be over 2 different fiscal years. So just
Right.
moving the money, because they will go into the next fiscal year. So we just want to go ahead and encumber those so we won't lose the money on June 30th. So that's why we're moving the money into the capital fund, so they can continually do the work that it takes. Instead of reappropriating in the next budget, it already be encumbered, so we won't have to budget for it again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Counselor Abbott.
Well, that answered my question, so thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye, the item passes. Our last item is item 16. This is a project agreement between the city and Workplay Properties LLC and Workplay Enterprises LLC developer, and substantially the form attached under which the developer will undertake a project under which properties will redevelop, rehabilitate, equip, and lease that certain real property, which is 30,000 square feet building located at 500 23rd Street South, Birmingham, Alabama, 35233, to operate as a music and entertainment venue. And the city will provide the developer a revenue sharing incentive based on a percentage of actual sales tax revenue following each year during the payment term of the agreement of 5 years, an amount up to but not to exceed $230,000, provided that developer is in compliance with the terms and conditions of the agreement.
Second.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Griffin Lassiter, and I serve as a senior project manager in IEO. Cornell Wesley's a little under the weather. He worked this project and did his usual great job, but so I'm filling in for Cornell. I just want to add a few comments to what you just said concerning this proposed development agreement with Workplay. The projects will add 3 new jobs and 3 new full-time jobs and 3 part-time jobs. The capital investment is very significant, $4,221,000. And over the first 10 years of project operations, the city will gain an estimated additional $1,700,000 in tax and license revenue. This would be a 50-50 split of actual sales tax revenue over 5 years, with a maximum incentive of $46,000 per year, or a max over the 5-year term of $230,000. There will be no carryover from a year in the unlikely event that 50% of the sales tax revenue is less than $46,000 in any particular year. In other words, a shortfall in any year cannot be made up by an overage in a subsequent year. We have several people here to speak. Trey Hill and Johnny Grimes are here, and Alan Foster represented the city from the law department, Office of the City Department, the city attorney. So, Johnny, you want to add anything to what I just said?
Good afternoon. I am Johnny Grimes. I'm one of the owners of WorkPlay. We purchased WorkPlay of October 2023, and we opened it back up at the end of February, early April of this past year. We've been super excited about the project. I know most of you are probably very familiar with WorkPlay. It's been around since 2001. It's hosted everybody from Bob Dylan to Chris Stapleton. I mean, it's a historical club that's known throughout the country. It's one of the best sounding rooms in the South, but it fell under disarray for a while. Former owner got cancer, and then COVID happened, and he just wasn't in a position to be able to focus any time and energy on it. And so me and a couple of good friends decided to take it over. And so that's exactly what we're doing. We're super excited about partnering with you guys and to continue to grow this. And with your help, we are going to completely renovate the back of WorkPlay. And hopefully through those renovations, well, not hopefully, we will be the largest indoor music venue in the state of Alabama. And so we're excited about that. So that will be able to help us land a lot of these touring acts that typically overlook Birmingham because there's no larger indoor music venues. And so, yeah, thank you for your partnership. Look forward to working with you.
Okay. Council Abbott?
Yeah, I wanted to know what kind of, like, $4 million in renovations is a lot of money. What are y'all having to do to that back area of the?
Well, we've completely renovated with the completion of the back part, we've completely renovated 30,000 square foot building. So it's a massive undertaking.
Oh, and it's already done.
No.
It's not done.
We're probably around 35% done. We've renovated the front bar and the bathrooms, and they've done some work in the theater, which is the room that most people know at WorkPlay. But we still have the entire back half of the building, which people don't know about, which has the sound stage, which is a movie production room, which will also make it a music venue as well. The canteen in the back. We have 12 office spaces, recording studios, and a podcast production studio that we're building out as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's been pretty quiet lately, so I guess being under renovation makes it quieter.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, and we won't get any complaints from the people that live in the condos nearby that they can hear all the noise, right?
No, it's inside, so.
Well, inside doesn't guarantee everything.
Yeah.
But that's good to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Pro Tem?
Thank you very much. I was in attendance at an event during Christmas and a very popular entertainment that occurs there every year, Christmas time. So I did notice some of the renovations, especially kudos on the restrooms. They were
Thank you.
nice.
Yeah, they desperately needed
They were
it.
very nice. So that's, I think you've answered it through Ms. Abbott's question. I was just trying to see in my mind, was this going to increase capacity for maybe the room that I'm more familiar with, or is this going to add capacity to those other two areas?
To the other areas in the back, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have any questions. Well, I think there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the aye passes. Thank you. We don't have any old or new business. The next committee meeting will be on Monday, February 10th at 3:30 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, guys.
So that's the largest